lights and the sun seems afraid to enter, stood an old and forgotten house. The villagers called it the House of Voices. No brave soul had ever crossed its threshold and lived to tell the tale until today. This is the story of Lavra and the nights she should have never agreed to spend in that house. If you're ready to hear it, make sure your doors are locked, because someone might be listening from the darkness. It all started with a bet that, like many others, seemed harmless at first. Lavra, a 22-year-old woman, agreed to win $500 if she spent the night in the abandoned house. It can't be that bad, she thought. It's just an old house with dust, cobwebs, and maybe a rat or two. But what she found was something far worse. The sound of dry leaves crunching under her feet accompanied her arrival. The door wasn't locked, which was already strange. Okay, the door isn't locked. That's odd, but better for me, she said as she pushed the door open, which responded with a long, sharp creak. Her first steps echoed in the hollow interior of the house. Each creak beneath her feet seemed to multiply. Calm down, Lavra, they're just noises. Old houses always make noises, she told herself. But with every step she took, she felt that something else was moving with her. The echo of her footsteps sounded different, as if someone else was replicating them a second behind her. Suddenly, she stopped. Hello, is anyone there? This isn't funny, she said with a trembling voice. Silence was the only answer. Absolute silence, broken only by the rhythm of her quickening breath. Silence can be deafening when you're expecting an answer, but sometimes the absence of an answer is even more terrifying, she thought. The slam of a door echoing through the house made her spin around. Who's there? This isn't funny. I'm calling the police, she yelled, but no one replied. The atmosphere grew heavier with each passing second. The noises became more persistent, deep breaths, slow, approaching footsteps. Calm, it's just your mind playing tricks. There's no one here, she muttered as she backed away, her eyes fixed on the darkness. But there was someone, and that someone was also trying not to make noise. She knew it when she felt the deep breath right behind her ear. She spun around with a strangling scream. Who's behind me? The response was the sound of footsteps running toward her. Panic took hold of Lavra as she ran too, crashing into furniture, knocking objects over. Her breathing was fast and erratic. No, this isn't real. I have to get out of here, she gasped, running toward the front door, but this time it was locked. Open the door, please help, she screamed, pounding on it with all her strength, but the door wouldn't budge. The sound of whispers began, at first low and faint, then growing louder, filling the air around her. What are those voices? What do you want from me? She cried as tears streamed down her face. The whispers called her name, Lavra. Terror completely overtook her, and she let out a heart-wrenching scream. She ran frantically through the house, slamming into every wall and door she could find, desperately looking for a way out. The whispers turned into screams, mixing with the crashes of falling objects and the sound of shattering glass. Then silence. The house went completely mute, as if everything had ended. But it hadn't. The front door, which had been locked before, was now slightly ajar. Her friends searched for her the next day, calling her name, checking every room and every corner, but they never found her. The door remained open as if the house had devoured her. The bed was never paid. Days passed and rumors spread throughout the village. Children dared each other to peek inside, but none were brave enough to enter. Whispers of shadows moving past as the windows began to circulate. Some claimed to hear Laura's voice calling for help from within the house, but no one dared to confirm it. One night, a man named Eric, known for his bravado and skepticism, decided to put an end to the rumors. Armed with a flashlight and a crowbar, he announced to the entire town that he would enter the house and prove there was nothing to fear. He even live-streamed his entry, mocking the so-called cursed house to his online followers. See, nothing but old wood and mold. Pathetic, he laughed, panning the camera around. Laura's probably in Kanken sipping margaritas right now. Camera's feed suddenly glitched. Static filled the screen for a moment before the picture returned. Eric's face was pale, his eyes wide with confusion. What the hell was that? Did you guys hear that? He whispered to his live audience. A faint sound echoed behind him, the soft padding of footsteps. He spun around, flashing his light down the hall. Who's there? Come on, don't play games with me. The chat exploded with messages of run and get out. Eric's breathing grew shallow. Footsteps grew louder, faster, until they stopped abruptly. The air grew thick, the silence unbearable. He turned the camera toward himself, his face drenched in sweat. Okay, I'm out. I'm done. This was stupid, he muttered. Then, just as he turned back to face the front door, the camera caught at a face in the darkness. Pale, hollow eyes locked on him for less than a second before disappearing into the shadows. The chat exploded with messages of "Did you see that? And there's something behind you." Eric's phone hit the ground with a thud. The video feed remained live, but only showed the spinning image of the ceiling fan. Heavy breathing filled the microphone, followed by the slow, deliberate creak of the front door swinging shut. The faint sound of footsteps echoed one final time before everything went silent. The stream ended abruptly. The next day, the villagers gathered at the house, staring at the open front door. No one dared to enter. Eric's phone was later found just inside the threshold, its battery dead. His body was never found. The villagers no longer tell stories about the House of Voices. They know now that the house doesn't need legends or rumors. The house tells its own story, and it's still writing it. Remember, there are places that don't need to be explored. The next time someone bets you to enter an abandoned house, ask yourself, is it worth disappearing over a bet? We'll see you in the next story from Horror Moon. And remember, lock your doors tightly tonight because someone might be listening from the darkness.